What's going on, guys? Justin here from JT Sports Cards, back at it again with another video. Today I'm starting a new PC project that I'm super excited to share with you guys here. In terms of PC, as you guys, or some of you guys who watch past videos know, I'm a Kansas City sports fan, so I definitely collect and have a Kansas City Chiefs PC, sporting Kansas City for the MLS. As well as players in the NBA that have played for the University of Kansas, since we don't have a Kansas City or NBA team in Kansas City, as well as some other guys that don't even play for those teams that I just like and collect cards of. But I've always been a big fan of sports history as well as sports stats, and I've always kind of thought that having some type of PC project that kind of links all of those things together would be pretty cool. If you guys have watched videos of Jacob in the past, you guys would know that he has a running back PC that he does, which is stats based as well. And I'm starting a project of my own. I'm super excited to unveil that. So in terms of background of the PC as well, or project I should say, I've always been a pretty big college sports fan. I definitely watch and like professional sports, but I feel like as a kid I kind of gravitated a little bit more towards college sports. I was always really into learning players that played professionally, learning about where they went to college and just how their college career went. In terms of like video games, I always preferred the NCAA football games more than the Madden game personally. My PC project here is I'm going to be collecting at least a rookie card and select, I would say, autographs and memorabilia cards for the winner of the Rose Bowl game MVP, starting with the 1998 season on, and kind of giving guys some kind of history along with that. So, and again, I'm starting with 1998. This was the last year the Rose Bowl game was independent. After that, it was part of the BCS Bowl Game series, and then most recently, with the BCS Bowl games no longer a thing, it is now part of the college football playoff. It's kind of a little bit more history there. And in terms of why the Rose Bowl game specifically, it's definitely the bowl game that stands alone in my mind. Watching as a kid, it's always played around New Year's Day, so I always remember watching it then. And the Rose Bowl game is called the Grandaddy of Them All. It is the longest played Rose Bowl, or not Rose Bowl, but bowl game, I should say. The first Rose Bowl game was actually played way back in 1902, and it's been played every year since 1916 as well. And it's played in the Rose Bowl Stadium out in Pasadena, which is a very beautiful and pretty historic stadium as well. So in here, so episode number 1 is Brian Griese. This is a 1998 playoff prestige rookie card. I should say that all the rookie cards and cards in general, I'm going to get a card of the players in their collegiate uniforms. Bonus points if it has the Rose Bowl patch, on their jersey, so I know that they actually played in that game during the photograph, and especially if it has that game-used Rose Bowl patch. I mean, that would be super ideal. Those cards are probably going to be very expensive, but that would be most ideal. So, pretty decent card here. I kind of like the design and everything. It's got a pretty old school look to it. I mean, it is from 1998. But I feel like, having a photo of the player on the back and his stats kind of imposed onto that image is kind of a very 90s type look. So I thought this was a pretty cool looking card of him. So in terms of kind of the history for Griese, so as you can see, he played for the University of Michigan. He actually played his entire collegiate career there, starting with the 1993 season. He actually did not play, or he didn't have a scholarship his freshman year. He actually walked onto the team. His first year in 93, he redshirted. In 94, he really didn't play much at all. Let's see, the 95 season, he took over, so this would have been his redshirt sophomore year. He was the backup. The starter got hurt. He played a couple games down the stretch. Most notably, he led Michigan to an upset over then ranked number 2 Ohio State. His junior year, the 96 season, he was again started as the backup, but the starter struggled halfway through the year. So Griese replaced him actually at halftime at the Ohio State game again, where he led Michigan to another upset win. So that was 2-0 in his career against Ohio State up until that point. And then 1997, that was his senior year. He was the starter the whole season. Michigan was very good that year. On that team, we had Charles Woodson. So he played both corner and wide receiver. He won the Heisman, and he's one of the only defensive players that have won the Heisman ever. And Michigan actually did go undefeated during that year. Their defense is really good. As I mentioned, Charles Woodson. They also had Glenn Steele, who was an All-American defensive end. And they only gave up 144 points in 11 regular season games. So very stifling defense. Griese didn't have massive stats, as you can see during his senior year. 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I mean, fine stats, definitely not like world-breaking stats or anything, but he had a really good team around him, and really he just kind of, I wouldn't say he was a game manager. I mean, he was better than that, but he really, allowed the team to win games because he didn't try to do too much, really. Going into that 98 season, in November, they were ranked number 1 in the AP poll. They played number 4 Ohio State. The winner of that game was going to represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl. It was a pretty close game. Charles Woodson was actually a pretty star. He was kind of the star in that game. He had an interception return for a touchdown. He also returned a punt 77 yards for a touchdown as well. And Michigan ended up defeating Ohio State 20-14 in that game. And so they went on to play in the Rose Bowl game against Washington State. In that game, Michigan ended up winning 21-16. Again, Brian Griese named MVP of that game. He went 18 for 30, 251 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and he also had 28 yards on the ground. So pretty good game. I mean, not amazing stats there, but again, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did enough for Michigan to win that game and winning the MVP. So to kind of cap it off for his career at Michigan, Griese, he went 17-5 as a starter. Probably he's remembered most for beating Ohio State 3 times. And if you guys follow college football, Ohio State and Michigan it's one of the biggest rivalry games in all of college sports, and certainly college football. So Griese not only won the Rose Bowl MVP in 1998, he also was inducted into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame in 2012. After that game, the Rose Bowl game, again, this is before the BCS, so Michigan was named the college football national champion according to the AP poll, but the coaches poll decided to choose Nebraska, who won the Orange Bowl. They defeated Tennessee in that game. So it's kind of, this is obviously before the BCS bowl games. The BCS bowl games would be slightly better in terms of determining a national champion, but because it was still kind of based upon votes, it really wasn't until nowadays where you have the college football playoff where you have a true undisputed champion. Although you can't argue, what if teams deserve to get invited into the college football playoff, but that's kind of a whole different debate there. So I'll leave you with one final fact here on the Rose Bowl. This game, 1998, was actually the last Rose Bowl game with an attendance over 100,000. They did make some modifications to the stadium after this game. Most notably, they widened the playing field to allow for soccer games. So they've had a lot of big international soccer games, and if in terms of a World Cup, coming to the United States, the Rose Bowl 100% was going to be a site for those games. They also removed some lower seats that were blocking certain players on the sideline, kind of made it tricky as well. So yeah, that is Brian Griese. Again, 1998 playoff prestige rookie card here. First guy of this Rose Bowl PC project. Brian Griese, he did go on to play in the NFL after his Michigan career. He actually played 10 years in the NFL. He was drafted by the Broncos in the 3rd round in 1998 NFL draft. He actually did play in one Pro Bowl game. He had a really good year in 2000. throwing for 19 touchdowns, 4 picks. And then other than that, he didn't have a great career after that. I mean, he was, an okay spot starter here and there, but I would say he was probably one of the highlights of his career was probably winning the 1998 Rose Bowl and winning the MVP. So that's it here for episode number 1 of this Rose Bowl PC project. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned something about, Brian Griese and the history of the Rose Bowl. So stay tuned for future videos regarding this project. I'll also continue to have some additional, repack reviews as well. So stay tuned for those videos. I really appreciate a like on the video. Also comments, any thoughts on the project, Brian Griese, the Rose Bowl, or anything else, things that you'd like to see going forward. So always appreciate any support from you guys as always. Stay safe. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'll catch you next time.